Revelation. That's the last book, chapter 12. It's going to take me a little bit to get there, but that's all right. If I'm being honest with you, I kind of feel like on a lot of these holidays, the church really falls short in describing what we're supposed to be celebrating. I just do. I'll go on like Worship House Media or some of these websites, and I'll look at these videos, and I'm just like, it's just the same thing, you know. So like all the Mother's Day videos are like, thank you for, you know, cleaning our diapers, and thank you for having a hot meal on the table, and thank you for all that. And it's like, really? Like this is what it's all about, you know? And so Daniel Milks found this video, and I think it's a way better representation of how our church feels about this day that we celebrate mothers, because like my mom said, we actually want to celebrate every woman that's here, whether you've given birth to a natural child or you're mothering or helping somebody else. We want to give honor to all of you today. And I think this video does a great job of showing all of the different sides of what it means to be a mom and what it means to be an amazing woman. And so we want to show you this, and there's not going to be any cleaning up messes or sweeping floors or meals cooked or anything like that. None of that cheesy stuff. We're going to show you some of the beauty and the pain that we find as mothers. So today we want to celebrate all of you. I'm not going to cry because I told the first service after crying for the 10th time after watching this video that if I cry in the second service, I need hormone replacement therapy. So I'm not going to do that. You're crying though. I heard you, all right? I was on my way back yesterday on the plane and just thinking about yeah. Don't blow my, no, I'm not letting them know. It's a surprise at the end. I was thinking about the women who are in my life, my own mother, my wife, and other strong, amazing women that I love that are here, both family and friends. And yesterday on my way back from California, I just started to write about them. And so I want to dedicate this little thing that I wrote to my mom and my wife and the strong women that are around me that I love so dearly. It says, you absorb fear and you birth dreams. You wipe tears and you release hope. You calm minds and you free hearts. You are a love story that never ends. You are fierce, you are brave, you are creative, and the world is yours. You have the tenacity of 1,000 lions and the gentle touch of the morning dew. Healing oil flows through your words and speaks life and order in chaos. Where there is darkness, you chase it away with one smile. You ride the wind and surf the waves when others are fearful. You've taught me to live and laugh and love in every moment or situation. My life is 1,000,000 points of light because you dreamed over me. I don't think I could conceivably construct a sentence that would not massively fall short of bringing the honor and the gratefulness you deserve. Your faithfulness has never let me down, and my tomorrow will be full of dreams fulfilled and hopes found. So that's for you guys. I was thinking about this yesterday as I began to write that, and what began to come to my mind is all of the dreams and all of the hopes and all of the stuff that you have as women nurtured and cared for and supported throughout the years. And what I felt like the Lord wanted me to release over you today was that it was time for you to begin to nurture and be a mother to your own hopes and dreams. I really strongly believe that the paradigm that we have seen in the past where one spouse, and the majority of the time it's the woman, supports the other spouse, and the majority of the time it's the man, and their dreams and their hopes, I actually believe it's unhealthy. Everyone's like, oh, here we go. I believe that as a couple or as a single person maybe looking for somebody, I believe you will never be happier and you will never be stronger as a married couple as when you are both championing each other's hopes and dreams and when you are both reaching for what God put inside of you. Come on. And I look at whether it's politics or whether it's the corporate world, or I look wherever, and if you think you don't have enough time to do what you feel like you need to do as a mother or a woman and champion your hopes and dreams, they're doing it out there. I met a young lady when I was out in California. She is the youth pastor, not her husband. She is the youth pastor at Jesus Culture Sacramento Church, the Jesus Culture, where they have in 4 years gone from a core team of 100 to 2,500. And she is the youth pastor of about 400 teenagers. And when they go to events together, like youth pastors things, they always come up to him, assuming he's the youth pastor. And then he goes, oh no, it's not me, I'm just here. She's the youth pastor. And they're like, ha ha ha, and they keep talking to him. And he's like, no, she really is the youth pastor. And she is a mom. She is an amazing mom, dedicated to her children, has loved them and nurtured them, is there for her husband, and yet has been powerful and courageous in what she's hoped and dreamed. And I just think it's possible. Come on. I think it's possible I think it's actually the only way to really fulfill who God has created us to be as man and woman. Let me dive into this if I can. Some of you are nervous, but hopefully you'll see where I'm coming from this. I was thinking about women in the church, and about 4 years ago, I preached a message that I felt like the next major revival that swept the earth would actually be led by more women than men for the first time in history. Now, women have led revivals, they just didn't get credit for it. But yeah, exactly. They just didn't get credit for it. But I really believe that there's a wave that was coming, and I said this 4 years ago. And we did this thing where the husbands brought their wives up and presented their hopes and dreams kind of back to the Lord. And it was a really cool thing. People were weeping and crying, and God was adjusting our paradigm and shifting how we felt about the role of gender. And it was really a neat thing. Now I kind of understand why the Lord gave me that 3 or 4 years ago and why we're at where we're at today. Because I actually believe that the message that God's put on this house is actually a message that women naturally carry well. And I think that if we're going to ultimately see the world come alive to the message that's here, it's going to require the ladies to carry it and lead it. See, you may not know this, but my theology or my worldview on this is shaped more by the women around me than it is the men. You may not know that. It is. My conversations that I have, whether it's with my mom or whether it's with my wife or my sister, Robin's another one I talk to about this stuff, it's actually more shaped by them than it is the men in my life. Now, why that's important is because recently I had an encounter with a pastor of a local church that looks a lot like this. The lights, the contemporary, modern, the whole thing, dressed like this, tattoos, whatever. And I recently had an encounter with him, and we were going back and forth on something just on private messenger. And I went on his website and looked at their belief system or their statement of beliefs. And one of the beliefs said that women, that the doctrine and theology of the church is only set by men. Translation, women have no right to set doctrine or to be a part of setting doctrine or creating the theology of the church. You aren't allowed in the room. And if I can be crude for a moment, because of your parts, you have the wrong part. Oh, I know you're sitting on me. That's all right. That's all right. Let me show you something else. In 1996, George Barna, the Barna Research Group, did a poll of people outside the church. I'm going to show you why it's important that we open up our minds and stop preventing or limiting women from having a wide open space for what God's called them to birth and create. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you where it goes wrong and why we need each other and why there must be an equal voice from both men and women. You may not know this, but our board is actually 50% men, 50% women. And until Carolyn had to step down, we had more women on the board than we did men. So if we have churches in 2018 that are saying a woman can't sit at the table when we're discussing the doctrine and theology and direction of the church, something is wrong. And there is a response, if you will, there is a consequence for boxing women out of that discussion. And let me tell you what that is. We have a PR problem. The church has a major PR problem. Our public relations as the body of Christ is terrible. And it's because we have not included this beautiful, powerful, graceful, wise voice that is a woman in the equation. Amen. And when it has only been set, because God designed us to work together. God designed us for our brains to work and for us to complement one another. And when one is taken away, you have this massive lack. In 1996, George Barna did a research. He did a poll, he did a question, same question. He said this, he said, basically, do you see the church or Christianity in a favorable light. 1996. 86% said yes. Pretty good. Not bad. 13 years later, in 2009, that number had dropped to 16%. 84% of people that are not in a church this morning, that are unchurched, that we call the world, have an unfavorable view of Christianity in the church. I want to make this very clear. This is not an anti-male message. My closest friends, who I have great respect for, are men. David Wagner, my friend in New York City, Boyan, Jarrett, other people around me are all men. I love them. They're a huge part of who I am. So this is not an anti-male message. I believe, but I'm trying to, you have to understand, men, we've been in control. And we've been running things. And we have to realize that there's a consequence to us being the sole voice. And I want to correct that, at least here. And maybe it'll spread somewhere else. All right? So this is not an anti-male message, but I want you to see that we have a major problem, and the problem is this. When this poll goes a step further and they ask people, what do you think the main message of the church is? The number one response overwhelmingly was this answer. All they care about is morality. Morality. Now you might be sitting there saying, Pastor Dan, you don't believe in morality? No. I believe in excellent morals. Yes. I believe in what God's designed for us to live in. I believe that He has said there are certain things that have consequences here on the earth that are unavoidable and are destructive to your life and destructive to you connecting with one another. I believe that 100%. But this is where we've gone wrong. Morality is a fruit. It is not the root. So we're preaching a fruit. It's the only message they're hearing. We're preaching a fruit instead of the root. And it doesn't make sense to them because they don't understand the root. And the root is the grace and the love and the goodness of God, which in turn changes your heart, changes your mind, and you live the morals that God's designed us to live. The root of it is grace. The fruit is excellent morals. The root is grace. And when we try to get back to actually preaching the root, the church cannibalizes you and does everything they can to destroy you. How dare you do this? How dare you preach grace? How dare you get back to the basis of the cross? Don't you understand? People need to live right. Well, what about Jesus when He went to the Samaritan woman who was caught in adultery? The adulterous woman. All He saw was what she thirsted for. He didn't mention, do you realize that sleeping around is not good? You see, when Jesus approached sinners, sin was the furthest thing from His mind. Uh-oh. Come on. Sin was the furthest thing from His mind. He wanted to speak and satisfy the thirst and not talk about the immorality. Jesus, time after time, even when people came to Jesus and said, Jesus, I'm this and I'm that, He wouldn't even address the fact that they just laid out everything immoral about them in front of them. He spoke directly to the need and spoke life to them and grace and love and the goodness of God into their soul because He realized the root is that. The fruit is what everyone else is trying to get. Now, why this is important on Mother's Day is because ladies get this. They've had to look at their son, they've had to look at their daughter, a loved one, who is a mess, and look beyond that with a mother's heart and love them anyways. You all get this. Men, we don't get this as easily. And this is why. I mean, this is very general, so if you're into like gender politics, I'm going to really fail you here. This is very general because I know men and women are, large range of where they are as far as the way they think about things. But men in general we like to do something, and then we like to get a result out of something. Ladies, can I hear an amen? Amen. Right? Yeah. Come on, let's be real with one another. I was like, I bought you a gift, and I said nice things about your hair, and now you're telling me you have a headache. Don't think you understand how this works. I did this. Right? That's the way we function. We're results oriented. We go to work. I worked for this many hours and I deserve this much pay, and we're designed to do this. And so there's this performance thing that is naturally inside of men. And so when we tell people, actually, he's not interested in your immorality, he's interested in your heart, it's hard for us to grasp. It's hard for us to get. And so when we have left out a female perspective out of actually beginning to craft the theology and the message that we are telling the world that we stand for and believe in, when it has become male-dominated, we end up with statistics like this. Because the world doesn't know that we care about them. Because we have taken this force of nurturing and love and compassion and we've said, be quiet. Can you all handle this morning? I know this is radical. I know it's progressive, but let's be real with each other. And if you're a man and you're married to a woman in this place and you're thinking, but Pastor Dan, if she does what you're saying, then she's not going to be here for me, and she's not going to, and our relationship and this, and what about the house, and what about this? No. You're missing the point of the whole thing. Let me tell you why. When your wife or your spouse comes to life of the hopes and dreams that God's put inside of her, you will never be happier. When you're married to somebody that time after time is saying no to what they've been called and created to be and pushing it down, they're going to be a heck of a lot more difficult to live with than if they're fully living who God created them to be. You will have the adventure of a lifetime if you actually let your wife be who she's created to be. I can tell that's female clapping. It's not very deep. It's more of a pitter-patter. It's not like a clomp, clomp, clomp. There are no bear paws that we're clapping right there. That's all right. Men, you can clap. Doesn't mean you agree with me. You can clap. It's okay. Do you know, there you go. Manly clapping. That was pretty weak too, actually, clap. Men. That's how men clap. So, a little battery problem. So, I want to move, if we can, to Revelation chapter 12. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his head were 7 diadems. His tail swept away a third of the stars of heaven, threw them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour her child. Now, I want to paint this for you so you understand what's going on here. In order to understand what this scripture is saying, we need to understand, what is the woman trying to birth? That's question number 1. And who is the dragon? Who is the red dragon? And why does the red dragon want to devour her child as soon as it comes out? Good questions, right? Because this sounds a little like, I don't know, out there. So if you keep reading, I'm going to jump to verse 10 in a moment. If you keep reading, you're going to find out that this red dragon has this wrestling match, if you will, with Michael and the angels in heaven. And when we get to verse 10, we actually can figure out and answer our questions. So let's look at that. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. So this woman is birthing all of these things. Boy, what does this sound like? She's birthing here. What does it sound like? It pretty much sounds like everything that I've been preaching for the last year. The authority of heaven, the power, salvation, the kingdom of our God through Christ has come. She is birthing, essentially, the finished work of the cross, the grace and love and goodness of God, the power and authority that comes with it. She's birthing. For who is the dragon? The accuser of the brethren. Uh-oh. Has been thrown down, he who accuses them before our God day and night. Now, if you remember me preaching this, you remember that the accuser of the brethren is the Greek word kategoros. It means to put people in boxes and to categorize them. Now, I want to be very gentle about the way I say this because I am not calling us men Satan. Okay? But we are more naturally inclined to put things around us into boxes. And if we look at a woman and assume that she's good for certain things and keep her in that box, we're actually being a part of the problem of the accuser of the brethren. She's got more in her than just good recipes. Hold on. No, don't clap because I'm going to get a little crazier. She's got more in her than how sexy of a dress she wears. She has more in her than what happens at night with you. She has more in her than whether she has a smiling face when you come home from work. There's more in her. But we put people in boxes based on their color of their skin or their gender or whatever else, and we say, this is what I need from you. Instead of going, hey, what is inside of you that I can see and champion and give you the wide open space for it to come out?
Yeah. Amen.
And I'm going to take it into a spiritual realm for a moment. The accuser of the brethren always comes to devour the child of grace.
Yeah.
The accuser of the brethren always comes to see that thing killed. You see, because once the baby is inside of you, and once the labor starts, that thing's coming.
Yep.
There's no stopping it. So we wait till it is birthed, and then the accuser of the brethren comes and devours it. And the church and religion has consumed and devoured a lot of really powerful, brilliant, amazing women's children. Okay, I think I'm going to get thrown out. But okay, let's keep going. Thank you, Jim Rishis. You agree with me, right? All right. Verse 11, then they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb, because of the word of their testimony, and they did not love their life even when faced with death. One thing I know about ladies is this. They are fierce, they are tenacious, and they are fearless. And if you mess with their babies, I'm getting ready to flip this thing on you. I said if you mess with their babies. I'm not talking about that little redhead running around. I'm not talking about that baby with a snotty nose. If you mess with their babies, they are fierce even unto death. Now I want you to think about this for a moment. Mary herself, the Catholics call her the mother of grace, the mother of mercy. Now, I know it's Catholic, and we're like, that's weird. They call her the mother of grace, the mother of mercy, because she carried the message of grace and hope and forgiveness and salvation inside of her. The authority of God was put inside of her. I'm just getting ready to turn this on you guys for a moment now. Are you ready? Can we turn? I was just with Danny Silk. He bought a brand new Corvette in December, and we took a corner at 125 miles an hour. That's how fast we're getting ready to turn this. And that thing didn't even begin to do anything. It was like it was going 30 in my Highlander, okay? So I just want you to hold on for a moment. I'm going to turn this thing on you right now. Because if the tenacity and the fierceness and the fearlessness that was put inside of you to protect and do anything it took to protect your child and not allow it to be devoured, if we actually took that and began to apply it to what you're carrying inside of you, oh, I'm not talking about the fertilized egg. Come on. I'm talking about the hopes and the dreams and the passion and the grace of God that God wants every woman in this place to carry inside of her. If you protected that, oh, man. The church wouldn't have a PR problem. If we just let you guys talk If we let you guys actually express what's in your heart and what you're carrying, we wouldn't have a PR problem. The world would fall in love with God because the passion and compassion and nurturing nature that God put inside of every single one of you, if that was displayed to the world in the context of what you carry, the message of grace and hope and forgiveness and looking past the immorality to the need, if that was actually on display, our world would look differently and millions of people would come into the kingdom. If you have the opportunity and you have the boldness to step out and do it. Come on. All right. Told you we were going to get somewhere. Romans 8, we're going to end here. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the anxious longing of creation eagerly waits for the revealings of the sons of God. There's this anxiousness, there's this awaiting for the sons of God to be revealed. For the true Jesus to be revealed to the earth. The world is waiting for it. And we haven't done a good job of it. Verse 20, for the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself also will be set free from its slavery to corruption into the freedom of the glory of... There's a war that is raging and going on right now in the body of Christ. There's a war that is raging in the body of Christ. And it is the war between slavery and being enslaved to the law and freedom in grace and the glory of God. There is a war that's going on. No wonder your voices have been silenced. Because you do not help the mission of enslaving people, ladies. You do not help the mission. When you speak up and start with all that, oh, we just love everybody and compassion and nurturing stuff, we're like, we have no time for that. People are going to hell because they're a mess, and you want to talk about loving them. What is that going to do? You do not help the mission. You get me? But there's a, well, I'm just going to read it to you. You just have to make your own decision, I guess. Verse 22. Maybe not. For we know that all of creation groans and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. And not only this, but also we ourselves, having the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting eagerly for our adoption as sons, the redemption of our body. The world is waiting to know that they are sons and they are daughters and they've been adopted into the kingdom. And it is time that we as a church begin to change our tune and stop dealing with the immorality and start dealing with the identity. Start worrying about the sin and actually speaking life into them. And I'm telling you, church, we will not get this right until both men and women come together with one voice to declare the goodness of God and the grace of Jesus. No more of this you can't sit around the table stuff. We're going to open the door up and let every voice that comes speak and their hearts to be heard so that we can see the baby that you are carrying be delivered and thrive and grow up and spread the love of Jesus all over the earth. Come on. I want to end with this. If we can. I want to end with this. I wholeheartedly believe that you know, I get very straightforward. I'm not afraid to call a spade, and I know that not everybody's okay with that. And if it offends you, I didn't mean to today. But I look around me at the people around me, the women that are around me, and they're just like, to silence them would be a crime. Yeah. Even worse, to allow them to silence themselves would be a crime. I want to speak to you, ladies. You need to stop giving up. You need to stop. You will have plenty of time to nurture everyone else, but you've got to start nurturing your own hopes and dreams. You're going to be 75, 80, 90 years old and have a mountain of regrets. Men, I don't want that on my hands. I don't want my wife to get to the end of her life and say, man, I wish I would have, I wish I could have. All because of me. Because she loves me and wants to support me and stand behind me. It's not our fault. But we got to recognize it. We got to see it. And don't just say, thank you for your sacrifice. Here's a corny Mother's Day video. Thanks, you always cleaned up the diapers when I didn't want to and all that. That doesn't make it any better. Oh, you see her sacrifice once a year. That's great. Today, we're all going to cook, even though she cooks the other 364 days. I mean, we've got to do a better job of looking at one another and realizing the power and strength, the tenacity, the love, the compassion. There's these intangible elements that every woman carries that we don't have, and it's okay. It's okay. There's things that we carry that they don't have, and it's okay. It's okay to look. It's okay. It's okay to look at one another and say, hey, I'm not strong there, but you are. It's okay. Doesn't mean you're less than. Doesn't mean that because you can't do it all that somehow you're a disappointment. We need each other. My sister and I work together. We have a beautiful working relationship, considering we hated each other's kids. I don't know why I'm crying, but she's so mean. Water break. We have a beautiful working relationship. She's so powerful and smart and brilliant. You know, I hate to even say those things because we don't say that about men. We don't say like that man is so powerful and brilliant. But I want just for a moment, you know, to take someone like her who has literally become one of the most respected voices in the nonprofit community. If she's in the room at a banquet with 500 people, there's a good chance if they mention 4 or 5 people, they're going to mention her. I'm glad my parents didn't say, Aaron, you know, this isn't the traditional route for you. You know, you need to learn how to cook or whatever. Be a secretary. Aaron was my dad's secretary for a very short period of time. Until my dad realized that she was actually running the show. Yeah, that's right. One time my dad beeped down to Aaron. It was in the other building. And she said, he goes, Aaron, and she's supposed to be the assistant secretary. He's in an appointment with somebody. And she beeps her on speakerphone, which was your first mistake, speakerphone, and says, Aaron, I need you to get, Bob Smith on the phone or whatever. And Aaron goes, your finger's broken? You can get him on the phone, can't you? Get him yourself. But I'm going to use her as an illustration to take her and to silence her because of her gender is a crime. Or any other woman here. And for us not to stand by and look inside of her, and maybe she doesn't see it, and say, this is what you carry. We did this thing recently, Estrella and I were with the Robertsons, and we were sitting out back with a fire. And the 4 of us sat there for about an hour or 2. And all we did was go around the circle and tell one another what we actually saw in each other. And just said, and some of us were shocked. Like, really, you see that? And then what we realized was, if we were talking about Jarrett, Robin would go, and I would go, and Estrella would go. And what we realized is that we all saw the same things, and he didn't see them. Everyone around you is seeing these things, but we don't actually take the time to realize, wait, he doesn't see them. She doesn't see them. She doesn't know what she carries. I just think on Mother's Day, if you want to give a gift to yourself, or if you're a child or you're a man, husband, whatever it is, you want to gift to your wife or your mom, take a moment out today actually call forth to the dreams and hopes that are inside of them. And give them the wide open space to not just carry what God's put inside them, which I really believe is grace. You guys carry it better. But to have it birthed and then to help them protect it and champion it and tell the red dragon that wants to devour the accuser of the brethren to go somewhere else. We can recommend a church to you if you would like to go. Not this one. So as your pastor, I want to tell you, the ladies that are here, you guys want to get set? Can we get positioned? I want to tell you, ladies that are here, that we value your voice. We need you. We need all of you. We need you not just to shape where we're going, but we need you to become fully alive to who God's created you to be. And as your pastor, I want to tell you that I am not just this isn't just a pro-women moment for me. My family, my mom, my dad, my wife, we all collectively believe that it's time for the church to deal with this for real. So I was talking to somebody about this, and they said, I was talking about the glass ceiling that exists, and they said, well, in some ways the glass ceiling has been broken. But a lot of the times we forget to let the ladies know that there's no ceiling anymore. And ladies, there is no ceiling here. It has been broken. And if anybody tries to convince you otherwise, you send them to my office. Or Aaron's office. You don't want to go there. Not on this topic. You don't want to go there. She'll eat you alive. And for heaven's sakes, it's 2018. It's time that we treat one another with the respect that we deserve. Amen. And value one another and what we bring to the table. In relationship, in the world, in community, on the job, and definitely here in church. What we want to do for Happy Mother's Day is, as you're leaving, if you're an adult woman, this doesn't mean that you have to have given birth to a physical human being. If you're an adult woman, God's called you to birth something. God's called you to carry something. If you're an adult woman, there's a dream that you're carrying that the world needs. And so we want to give you these flowers on your way out as a reminder. I know you're not like red roses means love, and I don't care because I like roses and I'm going to give you a red rose, all right? So, and I love all of you, I guess. That's how it goes. But what I want you to do is take this home. Now, we bought good quality flowers, and we've cut the bottom of them, and they've been in water. So take these home, put it in one of those skinny vases, and as these flowers open up, I want you to picture your heart beginning to open up again to the hopes and dreams. And if it dies before it opens up, just imagine it didn't, okay? I don't want you to come back and be like, I'm supposed to represent my hopes and dreams, and it never opened up and it's dead and dry. Sorry about that. The religious spirit creeped in again. So if you're an adult woman, we want to give you one of these on your way out. Whether you are a mom to a physical child or you're just a mom to a dream, we want to give you these. And we want to tell you Happy Mother's Day from the bottom of our hearts here at Harvest. We want you to have an amazing time with your family and friends and just to relax today. Do as little as you can and remember that it is time for you to not just carry, but to birth the dream. And we will protect it and nurture it and call forth to what God has put inside of you to do. Does that make sense today? Bless you guys as you go. Grab one on the way out. We have them at all the exits, all right? Bless you.